Hello friends, my name is Paul Dirks, and I'm one of the members of the One Accord strategy team, a local pastor, and a trainer and apologist on issues related to sexuality and gender. As we quickly approach the federal election, one of the greatest concerns we ought to have as Christians is the election of those who will boldly champion parental rights. No one knows their children like their parents. Parents have been given authority by God to lead their children into blessing, wisdom, and truth. Parenting takes discipline and a long-term view of what is going to benefit our children, not only in the moment, but in decades to come and even in the generations to follow. It also takes a well-developed moral framework and a discipleship that is true to the Word of God. All of this, however, is blatantly under attack here in Canada. Issues surrounding sexual orientation and gender identity have been the occasion for the government and policymakers to attack parental rights. They're doing this under the facade of compassion and justice. But not only do these policies lead to terrible consequences, they're often based on science that has either been disproven or is easily refutable. But the SOGI narrative allows activists, educators, and even the courts to play children against parents and to destroy the strength of the family, the bedrock of Canadian society. Recent history shows that the state makes for terrible parents. Professor S.J. Mason, himself a Mohawk Canadian, has pointed out how SOGI-related legislation drives a wedge between children and parents in very similar ways as was perpetrated against First Nations families in regard to residential schools. Let me give you a couple of recent examples. In Alberta, a young autistic girl was pressured into attending a GSA, or Gender and Sexuality Alliance Club, where she was introduced to transgender ideology. Being a tomboy and wanting acceptance, she identified as transgender, which, according to her own testimony, made her very popular. Teachers and counselors encouraged transition, and for some time she lived a double life as a girl at home and as a boy at school. It was only when she attempted suicide that these things came to light, including the fact that school staff had deliberately hidden her behavior and involvement in the Gender and Sexuality Alliance from her parents. Another terrifying example is a recent court ruling here in BC, which stated that a 14-year-old girl can begin cross-sex hormone treatment without any parental consent whatsoever, in spite of the concerns and protests of the girl's father. Even more appalling, however, was the judge's ruling that if the father calls his daughter by her birth name or uses female pronouns in reference to her, that this would constitute family violence and he may be prosecuted. Brothers and sisters, we're now just a half step away from the government entering the homes of Christians and removing their children from them because of what they call family violence, nothing more than disagreeing with transgender ideology or not wanting their children to be sterilized or mutilated. Justice Laforêt of the Supreme Court stated regarding parental rights in Canada, parents should make important decisions affecting their children, both because parents are more likely to appreciate the best interests of their children and because the state is ill-equipped to make such decisions itself. It is time for you and your church to organize and to demand of all your candidates that you will only vote for those politicians who are willing to boldly stand for parental rights. Ask them to make a commitment that you can share with your church. Studies like Sullen's 2015 are clear. Children fare the best when they are raised by the parents from whom they are derived. Societies rise or fall based on the strength of the family. So organize and demand that your candidates fight for parental rights for the good of Canada. Thank you for your time. Next week, we'll consider the importance of standing up for the most vulnerable in Canada. May the Lord bless you, keep you, and make His face to shine upon you.